नमो अरिहन्ताणं नमो सिद्धाणं नमो अयर्याणं नमो उवज्जायाणं नमो लोये सौवसाहुं मङ्गलं भगवान् वीरो मङ्गलं गौतमो गणी मङ्गलं कुन्द कुन्दाद्यो जैन धर्मोस्तु मङ्गलम् सर्वमंगल मांगल्यम सर्वकल्याणकारकम प्रधानम सर्वधर्माणां जैनम जयतु शासनम जैनम जयतु शासनम जैनम जयतु शासनम. In the last class, we were studying about the chapter of non-violence, ahimsa. Last two paragraphs were remaining. So, so far we have read in this chapter that rise of attachments, aversions, and delusions in ourselves is violence, and to treat them as religion is the greatest violence. So rise of attachment, aversion, and delusion in ourselves is violence, हिंसा है, and to treat them as religion है हिंसा, और उनको मानना कि ये वितरागता है, धर्म है, then it is called the greatest violence, महाहिंसा. And absence of this, इसका अभाव, वही non-violence है, वितरागता. And absence of this is non-violence. And the last one, not to regard these attachments and aversions as religion is the real understanding of non-violence. So the last week, we had studied about the definition of violence and non-violence. So, one minute. So, Acharya Amrit Chandra Dev had given us a very good definition. All attachments, all kinds of attachment, aversions, delusion, of whatever nature are violence. So these are the four things. Rise of attachment, aversion, and delusion in ourselves is violence. To treat them as religion is the greatest violence, mahahinsa. And absence of these is non-violence. और इनका अभाव होना ही वीत रखता है non-violence, ahimsa. And not to regard these attachment and aversions as religion is the real understanding of non-violence, ya ahimsa. Last paragraph. A possible question is, vicious attachments are violence. Vicious is cruel, violent. Tivra rag are violence. But why regard virtuous, punya, attachments as violence? So one is tivra rag and other one is mand rag. So it is quite logical that vicious attachments are violence. But why regard virtuous attachment, the sentiment of saving somebody, helping somebody, feeding somebody, right? These are all going to bound auspicious karma. And then why these are called as violence? The fact is that when attachment is violence, how can virtuous attachments be treated as non-violence? It is also a kind of attachment. Of course, virtuous attachment are mild violence, and vicious attachments are strong violence, intense violence. If we cannot abjure violence altogether, if we cannot renounce violence altogether, we should mitigate it. We should reduce it. The lesser are our attachments, the better it is for us. But their presence cannot be treated as religion. So when we compare intense passion, then mild passions are better than intense passion. Because with intense passion, intense karma will be bound. But mild passion, or we can say mand kashai, that is also a form of violence, but it is better compared to intense violence. But it cannot be considered as religion. Religion is non-attachment or passionlessness or vitrakta or ahimsa. These are all different names for the religion. So any kind of attachment, whether it is mild or intense, it is all violence, and it cannot be treated as religion. Religion is complete absence of attachment. Complete absence means vitrakta, complete rag ka पूर्णतया abhav. Complete absence of attachment, aversions, and delusions. Rag, dvesh, or moh. And that is non-violence or ahimsa, and which has been hailed as the greatest religion. Ahimsa paramo dharma. So this non-violence is the greatest religion. So this was all about non-violence. If you have any questions regarding this chapter, you can ask. There was a question that why we are considering auspicious sentiment as violence. So again, the same logic, because even the auspicious sentiments also destroys the pure sentiments, or these auspicious sentiments stops the spiritual development or the pure development of pure sentiments. So again, it is a kind of violence only. So this is all we have about, because the definition of non-violence says that any form of attachments, aversions, and delusion are violence only. So,
sir, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So that if we help any poor person, like if somebody is not well and we help them, so that is also violence?
Yeah, it is violence in the sense that it is a auspicious sentiment, And when an auspicious sentiment or inauspicious sentiments are manifested, then the pure manifestation of the soul does not happen.
So you mean to say we should not help anybody if we
No,
are going on a different path?
not a question of helping or not helping, because finally we are not the doer of those things. It happens automatically. Now, supposing I had some problem in my life and you had come to help me out. But if I have a rise of inauspicious karma at that point of time, then you will not be able to help me. In spite of your sentiment of helping me, but just because there is a rise of inauspicious karma in myself, so you cannot help me. So this is such a thing that it is not on us whether we want to help or not. It all happens automatically. Of course, while we are into this kind of religious activity, we always have the sentiment of helping others, solving their problems, and spreading this knowledge to everyone. These kind of sentiments are always there, but we cannot consider it as a religion. So the main correct understanding is that even the auspicious sentiments are binding karmas, but of auspicious nature, but it cannot be considered as religion. Religion is passionless. There is no auspicious or inauspicious.
So that is what, if we do it, what is it? It is not going against the religion, right? It is just we are not getting any religious benefit out of it.
Yeah, so you should not take it as a religion, that's all. So even if you are thinking that you will not help me, but if there is a auspicious rise of karma in me, you have to help me. It is like that. So everyone is enjoying their fruits of auspicious and inauspicious karma that they have bound earlier, and that is all coming into fruition now. So only the main point in this whole chapter is that everyone knows that harming others, killing others is a violence. But saving somebody's life is also a violence that most of the people are unaware. And why it is a violence? Because it is stopping the manifestation of pure sentiments, right? So when an auspicious or inauspicious sentiments are manifested, the pure sentiments are not manifested, and in that sense, this is a violence. So now I hope everyone is clear about this violence and non-violence. What is violence in the true sense and what is non-violence in the true sense. Okay, so I hope everything is clear. I need to discuss about the example that I had given to you about the 4 anuyog, any practical example from your day-to-day life. And 5 students have done it. So I think another 4 or 5 are still left. But you can always try, and at least one time if you do it, then you will be able to do it again and again in all the situations in your day-to-day life where you need to take concrete decisions. So if you are able to put that event through the lens of 4 anuyogs, then you can see that your decision will be very balanced one, and if you are just thinking from one anuyog, then your decisions will not be rational, and it will also not be complete and justified. So this is a very practical exercise, and all of you have done very nicely. Only thing is that some of you have made mistake in Dravyanyog. So when we talk of Dravyanyog, it is always about soul as an observer or a knower, right? And if you consider as a doer, then it is delusion. So in Dravyanyog, it is always something that is related to the soul. So that is one mistake that many of you have done it. Otherwise, Charananyog is all okay, and Karnanyog is also okay. In Karnanyog also, you should always connect it to the karmas, right? So we can say one thing from the angle of Charananyog, and then the same thing can be said by the angle of Karnanyog. So when we say Karnanyog, then we should connect it to the karmas, auspicious karma or inauspicious karma, whatever the situation may be. So Karnanyog, we always connect it to the karma, and then Charananyog is what actually we need to do in those circumstances. And it also tells us where we have done our mistakes. So Charananyog is very important. It is the icebreaker. And of course, Dravyanyog, though you are only a knower, and Pratmanyog. So Pratmanyog is always examples from our Pratmanyog stories, or you can appreciate something, or you can not appreciate, or we call it either we are appreciating or we are talking in the negative sense. So these are all related to Pratmanyog only. So in Pratmanyog, we have appreciation or disappreciation, or we can say that when we criticize something, these are all part of Pratmanyog only. So by Pratmanyog, we are relating the same thing that has happened in the life of religiously inclined people. So still we have time. Those who have not done it, you should always try once. And once if you try it, then it will be a part of your life, and you can apply it again and again. And you can enjoy those moments. From the outside, it will show as a problem or something adverse happening. But from the inside, it will be an opportunity for you to practice what you have learned so far, and how you are able to apply it in your life, that you can make out when something actually happens. So this is all from this chapter, but we will again learning in Tattvagyan also about this. And then of course in Moksha Marg Prakasak, the 8th Adhikar, 8th chapter is full of these 4 anuyugas only. So
can you give an example of Dravyanuyog where any of us would have gone wrong? So that, and what would be the correct way to put it?
So if I take any one of yours example, I think Aditi Jain has given an example of Girnarji, right? So she had mentioned something about the mountain only in Dravyanyog, but actually it should be ki, the soul is only a knower of those events and not a doer of those events. That is from Dravyan Yoga. So in Dravyan Yoga, we always relate it to the function of the soul, which is just a knower and not a doer. So in Dravyan Yoga, you should always take it this way. Ki come what may, soul is always an observer. It is never a doer. And this is what we can observe from Dravyan Yoga point of view. So now somebody gave an example of making roti. So from the Dravyan Yoga, the soul was an observer of all this activity. The making of the roti and atta and everything, whatever. So soul was only an observer, and that is what Dravyan Yoga is all about. And all others are, Rajeshri ji has done very good, and in fact, she is the only one who has done all the 4 correct. And of course, one more student had done correct, all correct. That was Jaini ji. And rest all you have faltered on Dravyan Yoga, or you have not connected to the karmas for Karnani Yoga. Rest is okay. So you keep on practicing, and you will your knowledge will become very sharp, and you will just be able to solve whatever the situation will be there. You will be always at ease. I can say you will be at always ease. You will not become impatient. You will not become. You will not feel anxiety. These are all the benefits of seeing the same thing from 4 different expositions. So now we move on to the next chapter, the Great Ashtanika Festival. So we have Das Lakshan Dharm thrice a year, and same way Ashtanika is also coming thrice a year. It is again a permanent kind of festival, just like Das Lakshan Dharm. And this has been going on from time immortal. So this is a festival of celebration. The celebration is in the sense that the celestial beings go to this Nandishwar Deep. So we had studied a few weeks ago about the 3 worlds. So in the medium world, central world, Madhya Lok, there are innumerable islands and oceans. One island, then one ocean, then one island, one ocean. In that sequence, 8th one is Nandishwar Deep. So this chapter is in a conversion form between 2 brothers, Jinesh and Dinesh, and we'll just run through this chapter, and then of course I will explain. So Prinalji, can you read out?
So you told me.
Okay, you do it. I told Prinalji, but
Okay.
he could not connect. So you can always try.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
The great.
Call for me, sir.
The great Ashtanika
Last time
festival.
you did it, so now I'm Jinaliji is doing now.
Okay, I just got your message right now. So sorry.
Yeah. No problem.
Dinesh, brother Jinesh, will you like to chew betel leaves? Jinesh, no. Dinesh, why? You don't know this is the 8th day of the second half of Kartik month. The great Ashtanika festival begins today. Dinesh, so what? Festivals are for eating and drinking. On the festivals, people eat good things, put on good dresses, and live at ease. And you, Jinesh, this is not a festival of enjoyments. It is a religious festival. People live with abstinence, worship the Lord, and indulge in discussions over the nature of the self. It is a festival for the pursuit of the soul. The purpose of religious festivals is to develop feelings of detachments from worldly affairs. Dinesh, why is this festival called Ashtanika? Jinesh, the festival is observed for 8 days and therefore it is called Ashtanika. It is, Dinesh, is this observed for 8 days of Kartik only? Jinesh, yes, it falls in Kartik every year, but it is celebrated thrice every year. Heavenly beings go to Nandishwar Island on the last 8 days each of Kartik, Phagan, and Ashad. We celebrate it here from the 8th day of the second fortnight of Kartik, Phagan, and Ashad, thrice in a year. We cannot go to Nandeshwar Island and as such worship our deities with reverence here only. Dinesh, where is Nandeshwar Island? You have read the lesson of the three worlds. The central world has countless islands and seas. This is the 8th island. Dinesh, why can't we go there? Jinesh, the 3rd Pushkar Island has a mountain named Manushotar. Human beings cannot go beyond that. Therefore, it is called Manushotar. Dinesh, what is there that attracts the heavenly beings? Jinesh, there are 52 beautiful self-made Jain temples where they come and engage themselves in the pursuit of the soul by offering worship, adoration, and indulging in religious discourses. Since we cannot go there, we arrange various religious performances here in order to realize our souls. Dinesh, where and how do people celebrate this in our country? Jinesh, the Jain community of the whole of India celebrates the great festival with great religious fervor. In many places, religious ritual of Siddha Chakra Vidhan is arranged. Scholars from outside come to speak on subjects of life and soul. In a way, the whole community is under the influence of the religious atmosphere. Dinesh, what is this Siddha Chakra? What is there in its text? Jinesh, have you never seen and listened to it? Dinesh, no. Jinesh, the Siddhas are the completely liberated souls, those who have shattered worldly bondage and developed eternal consciousness, perceptions, sentience, perfect bliss, and perfect potency. Those that are bereft of the 8 karmas, those that are free from the bondage of attachments and aversions, and those that stay on the border line of this world in countless numbers are the Siddhas, and their collective existence is called Siddha Chakra. In the ritual, we worship and glorify the Siddhas. In the last verses of adoration, Jai Mala, are included religious teachings beneficial to the progress of the soul, which deserve understanding. Dinesh, Jayamalas contain adorations only? Jinesh, yes, there are adorations, and along with the path of liberation of the soul is shown, and also how the Siddhas attain that state of psychic bliss. Dinesh, can you explain me the meaning of the text? Jinesh, no. When the ritual is arranged and scholars from outside come to deliver discourses, we should understand the meaning of the text from them. Dinesh, what is good of their worship and adoration? Jinesh, we can understand from their nature that our own souls are also of pure and unblemished nature, and we can also attain eternal omniscience and bliss by following their footprints. After Daksh Lakshan, this is the second great festival of the Jains. Dinesh, I have learned that leprosy is cured by the worship of the Siddhas. It is said that Shripal and 700 of his companions were cured of leprosy with this only. His wife, Maina Sundari, arranged the ritual of the Siddhas, sprinkled holy water over these patients, and they were completely cured of this dreadful disease. Jinesh, to limit the glory of Siddha Chakra to the cure of leprosy alone is to minimize its greatness. Leprosy is only a physical ailment, while the ailments of the soul are attachments, aversions, and delusions. If we regard our souls as those of the Siddhas and absorb ourselves in them, we can cure the great diseases of birth and death, as well as attachments, aversions, and delusions. The real effect of the adoration of the Siddhas is the development of detachment from worldly affairs because they themselves are completely detached. The real devotee of the Siddhas does not desire worldly gains from their worship. Till then, he attracts meritorious karmas and worldly pelf and pleasures come his way of their own, but he does not attach any importance to them. Dinesh, I thought festivals are meant for enjoyment alone, but I have understood today that religious festivals are for the developing detachment, abstinence, and pursuit of the self. I shall also lead a life of abstinence during this period and shall try to realize my soul.
So everyone is aware of this Ashtanika Parva. It's a permanent Parva just like the Lakshan Dharma, and it happens thrice a year in the month of Kartik and Fagun and Ashad. So last 8 days of each Kartik, Fagun and Asad, we have this Ashtanika for 8 days, and basically this is a festival wherein the celestial beings, they go to this Nandishwar island and do puja, stuti, bhakti, all these religious activities they carry out there. And usually they don't have access to temples and all things generally, but during this time they go to this Nandishwar island, and there are Akrutim Chaityalaya, the one which is not made by anybody, are called the Akrutim, or it is called self-made. So just imagine the deities in those 52 temples are so good looking, or even the devs who go there, they attain Samyak Darshan just by looking at the Pratima only. So this is the kind of impact that these temples have. And since we cannot go there, we try to celebrate it here by organizing Vidhan. In most of the temples, we have this Siddh Chakra Vidhan, especially for Ashtanika Parva. And since we cannot go there, why we cannot go there? Because the third island, called the Pushkar Island, it has got a mountain named Manushuttar, and human beings cannot go beyond that. And that's why the name of the mountain is also Manushuttar. So Manusha cannot go beyond that Manushuttar mountain, so they cannot go to the Nandeshwar Deep, which is the eighth island. So we are not able to go beyond the third island, Dhai Dweep, So human life is found in only the 2.5 Dweep, that is first one, second one, and the third one, which is Pushkar, half of it. Beyond that, Manushya or the human beings don't go. So in every temple, there is this Sit Chakra Vidhan, and there is also a scholar coming from outside, and he takes the discourses, and some of the junior scholars take up this Vidhan. And this Sit Chakra Vidhan is also meaning wise, if you say, it is also very informative. So in this Vidhan, who is being prayed? So this Sit Chakra Vidhan is about the Siddhas who are a complete liberated soul. They have manifested in themselves eternal consciousness or Ananta Gyan, or perception sentience or Ananta Darshan, then perfect bliss, that is Sukh, Anant Sukh, and perfect potency is Anant Virya. And so these are the four Anant Chatushtay, and then we have other four also, which are not written here, but it is Sukshmatva, Avyabhadatva, then Aguru Lagutva, and Avganatva. So these are the other four qualities. So in total, they have destroyed 8 karmas, and by virtue of which they have manifested these 8 qualities in themselves. They are complete liberated souls, so they are completely free from attachments and aversions, and they are free from all kinds of bondage. And they stay on the borderline of this world in countless numbers, and it is called the Siddh Sila. And their collective existence is called Siddh Chakra. In the ritual, we worship and glorify the Siddhas. Ritual means that stuti or the Vidhan. In the last verses of adoration, that is called the Jaimala, after the main pujan is done with, we have this Jain Mala, and in this Jain Mala, there are many beneficial teachings included in that Jain Mala, and it also shows the path how to get to that spiritual development of ours. So all these need understanding, and unless and until you understand it, you will not be able to realize the inner meaning behind those rituals. So this Jaimala contains adoration, and along with adoration, there is this path of liberation of the soul is also shown, and how the Siddhas have attained that state of psychic bliss. All these are included in that ritual or the adorations. So when Dinesh asked, can you explain me the meaning of the text? No. When the ritual is arranged and scholars from outside come to deliver discourses, we should understand the meaning of the text from them. So when a scholar visits during the Ashtanika Parva, like most of the bigger temples do have scholars coming from outside, And at that point of time, you can understand, they do explain the meaning of this Siddh Chakra Vidhan while taking the Vidhan, while reciting the Vidhan. And at that time, you can ask the meaning which are not clear to you. What is the good of their worship and adoration? We can understand from their nature that our own souls are also of pure and unblemished nature. And we can also attain eternal omniscience and bliss by following their footprints. So if we walk on the path as enumerated by this Siddh Parmeshthis, we can also achieve liberation and become Siddhas like them. So after Das Lakshan Parva, this is the second great festival of the Jains. One more thing about this, while performing the Vidhan, in one of the stories in Pratman Yoga, it was said that a certain person had leprosy, Sripalji, and his 700 companions, they all had leprosy. But when his wife Maina Sundari, he arranged the ritual of the Siddhas and sprinkled the holy water called Gandodak on them, and they were completely cured of the dreadful disease. So then Jinesh says, to limit the glory of Siddh Chakra to the cure of leprosy alone is to minimize its greatness. Leprosy is only a physical ailment, while the elements of the soul are attachment, aversions, and delusions. If we regard our soul as those of the Siddhas and absorb ourselves in them, we can cure the great disease of birth and death, as well as attachments, aversions, and delusions. So our soul is just like Siddh Bhagwan. Siddh Bhagwan has destroyed all three karmas, Dravya karma, Bhav karma, and Nau karma. And our soul in the present state is devoid of all these three karmas. So in one of the verses, it is said that Sit Saman Sadapad Mero. So my identity is just similar to that of a Siddh Bhagwan. The real effect of the adoration of the Siddhas is the development of detachment from worldly affairs. Or we can say that manifestation of passionlessness, that is the real effect of the adoration of the Siddhas, because they themselves are completely detached. So the Siddh Parmeshthi is completely detached, and if we resort to adoration of the Siddhas, then we can also develop detachment from worldly affairs. The real devotee of the Siddhas does not desire worldly gains from their worship. So this is again why this is mentioned. Many people do worship Panch Parmeshthis just for the sake of having worldly gains. But if he is a true devotee, then he will not desire anything as such from the Siddhas. Still then he attracts meritorious karmas So even he may not desire worldly gains, but while adoring Siddh Parmestis, he attracts meritorious karms or the auspicious karms, and worldly pelf and pleasures come his way of their own, but he does not attach any importance to them. So a true devotee who is looking at passionlessness as the only outcome of his aradhana and sadhana, the worldly comforts do come on his way on their own. So, but if he asks for worldly comforts from the Siddh Parmestis, then he does not bind even auspicious karma. He binds inauspicious karma. So we should not never indulge in any kind of adoration for the sole purpose of gaining something worldly. This should not be done at any point of time. But when we are worshipping this Siddh Parmestis and other Parmestis, then automatically we bound auspicious karmas, and when the fruition of those auspicious karmas comes, we get all the good things in life. So this is not something to be asked for. Just as a farmer who sows seeds of crops or vegetables or something else, the grass automatically comes. There is no effort for planting those grass. Similarly, when a devotee indulges in this kind of stuti or bhakti of the Parmestis, he automatically binds auspicious karma, and the fruition of which brings worldly comforts automatically. So you don't have to do anything extra for those. But the real devotees does not attach any importance to them. I thought festivals are meant for enjoyment alone, but I have understood today that religious festivals are for developing detachment, abstinence, and pursuit of the self. I shall also lead a life of abstinence. I shall also lead a life of abstinence during this period and shall try to realize my soul. So the characters all shown in this kind of short stories, they are all very simple soul, and whatever good teachings are being preached from here, they always add up to it, and they also not only try to add up but also applaud this kind of activities. So this was all about Great Ashtanika Festival. Then moving tomorrow, we will be taking up this Bhagwan Parsvanath, and we have still some time left with us. So I'll just read through the introduction of Pandit Udar Das Ji. So he was a poet as well as a Pandit or a philosopher. He was there in the 17th, in the 18th century, in the beginning of the 18th century, beginning of the 18th century, he was here, and he lived all of 56 years only. I'll just read the introduction first. Bhudhar Das Ji occupies an important place among the old Jain poets of spiritualism and detachment. So he wrote those poems, but it were full of spiritualism and detachment. His verses and lyrics are sung with great respect in the religious community. He lived in Agra and was born in Khandelwal Jain community, as is clear from the last verse of his Jain Shatak. He was a great scholar of Hindi and Sanskrit. 3 of his writings are available at present: Jain Shatak, Parsva Puran, and Pad Sangrah. Jain Shatak includes 100 verses. So Shatak is 100, and Jain Shatak includes 100 verses, which are very easy and conducive to detachment. All those verses are with deep meanings. Parsva Puran can be included in the list of great epics of Hindi literature. It describes the life of the 23rd Tirthankar Bhagwan Parsvanath. It is of great poetic value and has very interesting exposition of many principles of Jainism. His spiritual lyrics, which are dear to the public, easy to follow, and full of poetic qualities, regale the minds of the people even today. The present lesson is based on his Parsva Puran. So 3 main three main topics that he had written. One was Jain Shatak, which is again a compilation of 100 poems. Then there was his Parsva Puran, which is a story about Parsvanath Swami. And then we have Pad Sangrah, which is again a collection of verses only. So not only he was a great poet, but he was also a great spiritual scholar, and that we can see from his works also. Everywhere he had tried to include this spiritual development. So we'll be reading about this story on Bhagwan Parsvanath tomorrow, and then we will. The last one, I'm giving you homework because we have done 2 chapters on this Dev Shastra Guru, and last one is also about that. So you just can read that chapter on your own, and if you have any difficulty, you can ask him. So tomorrow we'll take up this Bhagwan Parsvanath. Any questions today? Any questions for today? Okay, so we'll close for today. निज निधि निज में बताई, यह अनंत उपकार है उसके लिए जिन वाणी माँ को वंदना 7 बार है, उसके लिए जिन वंदना 7 बार है। 9 बार नौकार मंत्र गिनेंगे। जय जिनेन्द्र।